Hey everybody, this is Diane. Hello, welcome to Biters, and be grateful that you're not near me because is it COVID or is it a cold? I think it's a cold.
I think it's a cold. You were fully vaccinated, and I actually bought you some pins off of Etsy that will be coming to you very soon.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And I will tell you that the person that I got this cold from had a COVID test and it was negative, so...
You can actually get sick with other things. It's not just COVID.
Right. It's hard to believe in this day and age, but in fact, there can be simply colds.
Right? This is Marnell, and we are here to podcast Season 6, Episode 12, In Dreams.
Ugh. Okay,
so,
it wasn't as bad as last week.
That was a super happy Mother's Day surprise, right?
Did you read Paul Tassie's article? Because that's exactly what he said.
I did, and dude is haunted.
We'll talk about it in Whisperer's Corner, but yes, in fact, Paul Tassie was a little distressed.
Yeah. I have to say so, yeah.
Yeah. So, is it my turn to rate first, or is it your turn to rate first?
So I think it's my turn because I think I did
you're right.
RBG, and then you did the last episode of Biters, and now it's like my turn because we haven't done an episode of Housewives.
But we're gonna try to do one this weekend.
We are. You'll have to remind me what we're watching.
I
know you texted it to me.
And we'll talk about it in Housewives. So
okay, good. So I did not rate this very highly, and I will get into my reasons why. It's not because I disliked it. I just didn't like it. So I rated it a 3 fuchsia foliage fantasies.
Oh my god, that is so hilarious.
3 Fs. They are not my favorite F words.
So my rating? 3.8 pink trees out of 5.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, so I don't like when I first watched it, I was really like I was not digging the pink trees. And then I was like, it kind of adds an ethereal quality to the whole, cuz I mean automatically you know it's like a dream or something like that because you know, she wakes up and she's not pregnant. So it's like, okay, did we flash forward to the future or what's going on? So you know that it's not like real. So the like waking up to pink trees wasn't like too shocking given everything that happened in the episode.
The pink trees really bothered me. And I kind of got a little obsessive about the pink trees. Like, I was even looking them up, trying to figure out what the significance, what the symbolism of pink trees was.
That's funny.
I got completely obsessed because everywhere you looked, there were pink trees.
So they kind of looked like pink lavender.
Oh, I didn't think so.
So what's funny is I actually have some plants out in front of my house, and they don't get quite as lovely as they should because the front of my house does not get a lot of sun. It gets like late evening sun, and even then it's like obstructed. So I have these plants in the very front of my house that look just like these pink, like the wisps of flowers on the pink trees. I know that we had pink leaves too.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sniffly. I'm just going to say right now.
So yeah, like they really looked familiar to me. And then of course, we had, what were the blue bonnets? We had blue bonnets a couple seasons ago. So, yeah, they have a thing for interesting looking foliage.
That's right. I remember the blue bonnets, and that was actually really cool.
Yeah.
I like the bluebonnets better than I liked the pink trees.
Yeah, it was like too much.
It was too much.
I kind of think, and we'll probably talk about this a little later, I kind of think that like when her dream started to sort of break down when she realized it was a dream, I think that like that should have changed. I think like maybe they should have like started to do less and less pink.
I think you're giving the showrunners more credit than they deserve. Now, Michael Satrazemis, he deserves that kind of credit, but the showrunners, not so much.
Maybe I need to be like a creative art director or something on the show.
You know, I am going to be looking for work here shortly, so maybe I need to be a creative art director on the show.
Diana's available for consultation.
Okay, Biter. No, we'll talk about that when we do Housewives Housekeeping. Because there's a big news in the Housewives world, and no, I'm not engaged. So,
and she's not pregnant with a zombie child.
I'm not pregnant with any child.
Not an irradiated one.
I'm 50 for the love of God. Oh, dear God. Okay, we've gone off the rails badly already. All right, our numbers. Since we're podcasting so late because your sister is lame, we actually have numbers for The Holding and for In Dreams. So The Holding, which was last week's episode, 1.03 million views. In Dreams, 0.99 million views. It didn't even break 1 million.
Yikes.
I know. I
mean, I do have to say that The Holding is holding steady at an 8.3 on IMDb. So people liked that episode. In Dreams is getting a 6.3 right now.
That's because Walking Dead Universe is paying people off to go on IMDb and rate this thing. That's because Thomas O'Mara is repeatedly going and hitting some button on IMDb. Sorry, Tom.
What's funny is, of course, The Holding has been out longer, a whole whopping week longer than In Dreams, but In Dreams actually has more ratings than The Holding. So,
and I have not looked at the IMDb rating, so what is it?
In Dreams is 6.3.
Ow.
Yeah.
Owie.
So more ratings, but it's rated 2 whole points lower.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if people just weren't digging the Alice in Wonderland, it was all a dream scenario, or if it really was that Happy Mother's Day.
All right. So the title, In Dreams, I'm going to defer my comments about the title because they actually have to do with my goods, bads, and uglies.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything particular you want to say about the title.
I love Roy Orbison.
Really? Because, you know, what I actually discovered is that I really don't love Roy Orbison. I'm liking the Traveling Wilburys better, but I don't love Roy Orbison.
That kind of makes me sad.
I know. I'm kind of a barbarian. What can I say? Taylor Swift, Hamilton, 24/7. Not so much Roy Orbison. Although yesterday I was so sad I didn't listen to any music yesterday.
Only the Lonely. Mm-mm. You Got It. Pretty Woman.
Nope.
Oh.
I think it's his voice. Yeah. Yeah, now everyone's going to hate me. They're going to be like, you know, we were kind of down with Diane, sort of. Now we don't like her at all. Roy Orbison, that's a deal breaker.
Not quite, but that actually really surprises me.
Dude, you're my ride or die. Don't bail on me. I don't have any. I'm running out of ride or dies.
I'm not bailing on you because of Roy Orbison.
Okay, so our writers were the two knuckleheads, as Steve lovingly refers to them, Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg. And I'm going to slaughter her name, Nazrin Chowdhury. I totally slaughtered her name. I'm so sorry, you guys. I do not speak Hindi. I don't. She actually worked on this, and then she worked on another Fear episode called Welcome to the Club, and I am quite sorry to say I don't remember that episode. Do you?
Yeah. No.
Also, a couple of other things that I just thought were memorable, and I know that we've talked about this writer before because we talked about her when we talked about Welcome to the Club. She has worked on Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, the Amazon series. She worked on Damien, which was the television series taken from The Omen. And she worked on EastEnders. And aren't you the one who liked EastEnders? Wasn't that your thing?
I have never watched EastEnders, but there are a lot of tiebacks to EastEnders for a lot of the cast that we have done for some of the other, like Dead Set, and I think there's been a couple of either Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead because they hire like Aussies and Europeans so much. But no, yeah, EastEnders is a really long-running British soap opera.
Oh, I think I remember you saying that. I think I remembered that when we talked about it in the past.
Yeah.
All right, and then of course our director, I'm just going to say, was Michael Satrazemis, and we'll leave it at that. So we agreed that our featured cast member would be the young lady who played Athena.
Yes. I really liked her in the show, and I really, really like her as an actress. So it is Sahana Surivasan.
I think
I'm saying that right.
It's Sahana, I agree. I think it's Srinivasan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, neither one of us speaks Hindi, so we apologize in advance.
There is a interview with her on YouTube that is put out by Forbes. I watched a couple of them trying to get the pronunciation. It's the only one that I found where she rattles off her last name very, very quickly. So, yeah. So Sahana is actually a very accomplished young lady. She is much, much older than I thought.
I just want to say, by the way, that name is a beautiful name.
It is. It is. So she is around 25 years old, which was shocking to me.
Because they made her look a lot younger.
Yes, very much so. And so she also is in a television show that is currently streaming on Netflix called Brainchild. And it is a series. It's got 13 episodes, and it's sort of like Bill Nye the Science Guy meets Saved by the Bell.
That actually sounds like the stuff of nightmares.
So it is definitely made for young adults, children to young adults, very PG. But she is, let's see, the first science show that presents a woman of color as host. So she's been praised on her work on the series because it is encouraging young women to get into STEM, or actually even STEAM. I learned that there is actually STEAM now. STEAM is STEM with arts in the middle.
Oh, so, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, science, technology, engineering, art, and mechanics. Because they kind of also want to emphasize art because it sort of makes you a creative, well-rounded person. But she she talks about so I watched a number of YouTube videos, Forbes, Now This Entertainment, Variety, where she talks about how she's been, she's had young women come up to her, and one girl decided to go to space camp after watching Brainchild. One girl decided to get into acting because she saw herself represented on the screen, being an Indian American young woman. And interestingly enough, I actually watched a couple of episodes since I had the time. They're only like 22 minutes long. And she did one on dreams. So I actually watched that one first.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So she is super funny. I do have to warn you, if you follow her on social media, she is very, very funny on Instagram or Twitter. But it kind of took me aback for a second because she was playing a 16-year-old. So I saw her as a 16-year-old, and she's very sweary and talks about sex on her Twitter. And on Instagram, she does these hilarious videos where, the actress Priyanka Chopra?
Uh-huh.
She plays drunk Priyanka.
Oh, God, how funny.
And so she just does these, like, 1 or 2 minute long videos on Instagram where she, like, kind of mocks Priyanka Chopra, like, pretending to be drunk. And it's hilarious. And I'm sure she is a fan. Like, I can't imagine that she's doing this in malice. But, Priyanka Chopra is one of the more known Indian American actresses, and she's also mentioned, I think it's Mindy Kaling. Yes, Kaling as a kind of a role model for herself. So very, very funny on Instagram. If you only like her in one social media platform, I would say Instagram, because she's hilarious. And she actually does some stand-up comedy. So she is an actress, stand-up comedian, writer, filmmaker, and honors graduate of the RTF program in UT Austin.
Oh, and so I actually had the Walking Dead fandom site open because it had a little more info about her than IMDb did. And I don't know why I didn't put together until you just said that. But, of course, Fear is based out of Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And she was raised in Dallas.
Yes.
Born in Houston, raised in Dallas. So interesting that she's a Texas kid.
She's a Texas kid, although I do believe she normally lives in New York now. A couple of the interviews that I watched, she talked about first moving to New York, and she said she felt like Harry Potter because she went to Grand Central Station, and she's like, it was just very, very weird to go on a train and be in one place and then moments later be in another place, So I thought that was adorable. So one of the other interviews that I watched with her, I think it was Now This Entertainment, she talked about how, and we have talked about this before, she never saw herself represented on screen when she was young, because she's young.
Right.
And so she doesn't want to limit herself to just Indian American roles or Indian roles, as an actress. She kind of wants to break that mold where, she could act in something that would normally be cast as, a young blonde woman, to be vague about it. But she said she realized very young that she was not going to get all of the roles. And so that's why she went into filmmaking, so she could make all of the films that she wanted to. So I thought that was a very cool direction for her to go in, and realize that if I don't want to be limited, I shouldn't put limits on myself. She did a short. She wrote, produced, and directed a short movie called Tide. And it won the Best Director and Best Cinematography at the UT Arlington Short Festival. And you can actually watch it on YouTube. I will try and remember to post a link. It was very, very well done. Like, it took a little weird twisty twist at the ending that I don't know how to feel about, but that sort of puts a fine point on things right now. She was named one of ESPN's Game Changers. And she opened for the Ari Shafir at Cap City Comedy Club in Austin. So she absolutely loves to do stand-up comedy, and she has for most of her life. There's some really adorable pictures of her when she was very young. I kind of wish somebody would have videoed it. But, I mean, she even used to read her textbooks out loud to her friends in different voices. So she absolutely loves doing different voices. One of her top tweets right now on Twitter is her explaining her accent, and basically what she's doing is just rolling through a bunch of different accents, like Australian, British, French, Hindi, things like that. So yeah, she's got a lot going for her. So I think if you don't see her in front of the camera, you will definitely hear about her behind the camera, because she's definitely a go-getter, and she's very, very funny.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it was a one-off. I mean, I don't think that they really had anywhere to go with it, but I'm sorry that it was a one-off.
Yes. So that's why I kind of want to, I'll probably actually finish Brainchild because it's cute. And I am a child of, like, Mr. Wizard, Bill Nye the Science Guy, Beakman's World, things like that. So I kind of like those shows. I did graduate to, like, Cosmos and stuff with Neil deGrasse Tyson, but...
Oh my God, did I tell you? So the delightful boyfriend gave me a Stephen J. Hawking book.
I think you did tell me that.
Because I didn't take physics in high school or college, and I just cannot wrap my brain around it. I can't. It's terrible. It just makes zero sense to me. And he's very into physics and very smart. And I'm like, is there any way you could dumb this down for me? Because really, I think I'm pretty smart, but I'm not that smart.
What's funny is I absolutely love science, but it doesn't stick. Like, I would love to be one of those people that could rattle off the periodic elements, but, like, it doesn't, like, my brain can't hold it. Like, I can tell you, the phone number for the time and weather, that I haven't dialed in, like, 3 decades. But, like, yeah, I probably couldn't name 5 periodic elements. I probably couldn't name, I mean...
Yes, you can. Well, oxygen, okay. Gold, silver. Okay.
When I say that, I mean, like, the elements and their, like, abbreviation.
Oh, okay.
Like, iron is Fe, and we all know that because of Iron Man.
Some of us know it because we prescribe it, but... All right. Anything else about Athena?
So Sahana does have a TikTok. I was able to find her on TikTok. However, she only has one video that she did in January and 30 followers. So I think she sort of abandoned her TikTok career. At least for now.
That sounds like kind of a shame considering her comedy background, but...
Right? But she seems to have more success on Instagram.
My TikTok curators are just going to have to keep me up to date, so... All right. I am going to be totally lame and admit that I am looking at the news for Whisperer's Corner live. We're doing it live. So, Eric Kane, I'll start with Eric Kane and Paul Tassi because you mentioned Paul Tassi. So, Eric Kane kind of felt like it was a surreal, very dark episode. He also mentions, with a tragedy tailor-made for Mother's Day, fun times, which I thought was pretty funny. So they're both pretty obsessed with the fact that this was not a great Mother's Day episode. He really did not particularly dig this episode.
Yeah, so Paul Tassi is kind of like us, where he didn't.
No, I'm talking about Eric. I'm talking about Eric
yeah.
Kane.
Yeah, I couldn't find Eric Kane.
Yeah, no, I've got Eric Kane's pulled up, and he's basically like, I just really question if we need this type of episode.
I do too.
The whole, do we need the fantasy? Yes, it's already a fantasy. It's a zombie apocalypse, but do we really need, this?
So when they presented, Dr. June.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, I wonder what Eric Kane thinks.
She's not a nurse anymore, thank God. He actually did not say that. He actually did not say that. He did say that he was talking about Athena being born dead, or being stillborn, and he said, maybe just because I'm so jaded with the show, I've come to believe this scene is a bit exploitative, crafted for shock value rather than anything. It's certainly dark and emotionally powerful, something fear rarely achieves, but it's just such a hard turn in that direction. Since I wrote my sneak peek review earlier this week, I've soured considerably on the whole thing. While I do think that both Lenny James and Karen David did a great job with this scene, I think everything from the premise to the gimmick the shocking twist was overwrought and unsatisfying for any length of consideration.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. I love an unhappy ending. But there was no reason to kill the baby. When you have a child in a television show, there's a couple of episodes where, you see the child with the mother, and then all of a sudden the child disappears and they're 6, the next time they're seen. So, they did, I just don't understand why they killed baby Athena.
Well, and so here's a little excerpt from Paul Tassi's totally overwrought essay about how this was the most horrible Mother's Day episode that could have ever happened. Mm-hmm. The show did not go full-on zombie baby on us, and some fans wondered why the child didn't turn after death. Strangely, I think that would have been less terrible. A chompy zombie baby would have at least reinforced that we're in this fictionalized world where things like that can happen, but just having a stillborn, lifeless baby prop was haunting. Don't get me wrong, everyone did a great job. The acting was on point, but man, I don't know about the whole concept of this, that Grace's years-long pregnancy storyline ends with a stillbirth, and Grace is likely to die soon now, too, due to ongoing radiation poisoning. Oh, and did I mention this aired on Mother's Day? Yes, as a matter of fact, he did several times prior to that. I know it wasn't originally planned due to the delay, but man, is that unfortunate.
Yeah, I think they could have did a week break between the episodes or something.
Oh my gosh. And so the end to his essay was, I cannot recommend this episode to parents or to people who want to become parents or anything like that. It's extremely rough to watch. And again, I just don't know if the shocking turn was the right call. Anyway, we'll see how the season closes out. It can't get any more horrifying, right?
So I did not even
Our Forbes guys were pretty deeply distressed.
I did not even think zombie baby. I don't know why that did not occur to me, because they did it in Dawn of the Dead, so it's not like it hasn't been done before.
Well, and they did it in the one horrible episode of Z Nation that I watched, so.
Oh, yeah, I have not watched Z Nation. But
no, and you're fine. You're fine. Don't even think about Black Summer as being remotely related. Don't.
Right. And so, I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about Chompy Zombie Baby. I don't know if that would have made things better or worse.
Well,
And
Paul Tassi
like,
seems to think it might have made things a little better.
and I do agree with him where he said everyone did a great job on the episode. They did, but like it was weird and it was unnecessary to kill the baby. Like I feel because like I said, it's not like you really have to deal with the baby for long because baby Morgan hasn't been seen since the one episode, you know?
Oh, right. I totally
Yeah.
forgot about Baby Morgan.
Yeah. So, like, you can have the baby and keep the baby in the settlement. And, like, even if Grace did die, then that leaves, you know, what's her name to raise baby Morgan and Athena. And that actually would have been a great storyline, you know? So there was no reason to have to kill the baby, especially when, if we think that they are going to kill Grace, which I was very, very surprised that, like, don't get me wrong. I have said it before in this season. I don't want any of my people to die, but
Steve.
they kind of like, you know, this is what one of the things that we always liked about The Walking Dead is no one was safe, you know? If Daryl dies, we riot. Like,
Except now we know that Daryl and Carol are safe forever.
right. Unless their stuff is all a dream, too. I don't know. I would not put anything past the writers at this point. But, so, gone are the days where I actually feared for people. And so
you know, that is so sad, but that is so true.
Yeah. So, yeah, they'll probably kill Grace, but this would have been the episode to do it, you know? Yeah.
All right. I'm going to do a little more news, and then we got to
Okay.
move on, because
right.
we're talking about an awful lot about an episode that neither one of us was particularly enamored of. Okay, so Keith Carradine is going to be introduced in next episode as John Dory Sr. Yeah. And apparently, I didn't watch the clip, but apparently there's a clip that shows that John Dory Sr. and June are not particularly fans of one another.
Oh, I could see that.
So, and boy, he's aged quite a bit, as have we all. But I remember him from his Dexter days, so... Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I'm actually... So, for the first time in a while, I can honestly say I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, I know Steve has got to be totally stoked about getting yet another kid.
Steve, they'll probably kill him off in the same episode. It's all good.
Right. Yeah. I've actually been dying to do Nick Stahl as a featured cast member, and it was going to be this episode, but now it was Sahana because it's a one-off. Like,
Right.
you have to do the character that dies in the episode. So
and I mean, while that particular incarnation of the character didn't die, the character died. So here we are.
Right. And what's funny is Nick Stahl's character did die in the episode, but it was all a dream. So
yeah, like that was weird. Like the whole like talking zombie, I'm a zombie. That was weird.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. There's not a lot more. Apparently there's some first footage from behind the scenes of Walking Dead season 11. I'm clicking on it right now, and it does show, Kari Payton and Josh McDermott and Paolo Lazaro together. So we still have Ezekiel, Eugene, and Princess. Of course, there's unresolved stuff for them, so that totally makes sense.
Right.
What else have we got? There's a lot of stuff about just basically being like, this was a really dark episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fear the Walking Dead delivers a nightmare of an episode. That's one of the titles.
Daily Express, Fear the Walking Dead's fans outraged by unforgivable Mother's Day episode. Twist.
Sorry. Shouldn't laugh. Clickbaity stuff on Digital Spy saying, oh, they explained Alicia's absence. No, they didn't really. In the dream, they said Alicia had gone to rebuild a community at the baseball stadium, but they didn't really explain her absence.
I mean, like, you can be absent for an episode. It's okay.
Right.
You don't need to explain it if you just miss one episode. Like, you know, if we go 5 or 6, then it's like, what are we doing?
You know, we did get the glimpses of Athena's biological father. Monsters and Critics points that out, and we saw some episodes of him periodically, or some flashes of him periodically in the episode. Did you catch that?
I did not, no.
Yeah, so when you rewatch this, because I know you want to, you'll see some pictures of him. Okay, so this... go ahead.
I did actually watch it like 2.5 times. So.
Oh my god. I watched it once, as you can tell.
Well, I did my watch, and then I did my rewatch, and then there was a bunch of scenes where I had to go back and be like, wait. Yeah.
Okay, the last thing that I am going to share... Actually, I'm going to share 2 things. Apparently, Jeffrey Dean Morgan has been saying all over media that he would like to play Batman, which I think is interesting, because he played Thomas Wayne, of course. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I wanted to share is... It has nothing to do with Fear the Walking Dead, but it has to do with zombies. So there is a review of Army of the Dead, which is the Las Vegas caper with zombies, and it's got Garrett... Actually, so it does have something to do with Fear the Walking Dead, because it has Garrett Dillahunt in it, and Dave Bautista. Mm-hmm. And so...
I want to see it solely for that reason. Like, it kind of looks like a Suicide Squad to me. So I was just like, I don't know.
I'm just skimming through real quick, and it sounds like it's got fairly decent reviews. It's overstating to call it a return to Dawn of the Dead, but it's nimbler, grittier, and more energized than some of his other than some of Zack Snyder's other offerings. Other than that, for better or for worse, it's very much a Zack Snyder production. Oh dear God.
Yeah. I'm dubious.
Yeah, you know, I'll watch it because of Garrett Dillahunt and Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
So, it opens Friday, opens tomorrow, holy cow, in theaters, and then it premieres on Netflix on May 21st. So, a week from tomorrow.
Really?
Really?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, spend, $20 on theater tickets
and get
or
COVID.
Just wait a week and watch it on Netflix because, you're probably using somebody else's password anyway.
All right. I don't think I have anything else for the news, and I'm sorry I didn't do a great job with the news. We are talking about Crime of the Century this week for Housewives Housekeeping, which is an HBO documentary about Big Pharma, specifically Purdue Pharma, and their marketing and mass production of OxyContin.
That's right.
Yes, and it's a 2-parter, so just be prepared, folks. I don't think we're going to podcast it as a 2-parter. I think we'll probably watch it and do it in one podcast, but that's the story.
Yep.
So the big news from this housewife is that I quit my job a week ago.
Yay!
Yeah, and actually, my job has been toxic for a while, and it got really toxic a week ago. And I thought, I've given too much of my 50 years to toxicity. I'm not doing this anymore. So I actually like went in and quit and was going to walk out and
So
was not going
tell
to
everyone the confusing part, the 90 days.
Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of discussion on my Facebook page about what do you mean you have to give 90 days notice?
Is that an Alaska thing?
I don't know.
No, it's
I
not.
mean, I think it's a healthcare thing. And it's because healthcare people are hard to train. We're hard to find. We're hard to train. We're expensive to train.
Well, and you develop relationships with patients. I mean, like working relationships.
Right.
But, you know, people get attached to their healthcare provider.
Right.
So
I actually did have someone cuss me out today when I told him that I wasn't going to be there any longer. Like, he was meeting me for the first time because his provider just left. And I was like, I'm really sorry you got scheduled with me, but I just gave my notice too. And then he wanted me to write a letter for him that was entirely inappropriate. And I was like, I don't know you. This is the first time I met you. I can't write that letter. And he basically said in terms that I will not say on Biters that I didn't know even remotely what I was talking about, and that he was really glad, again, terms I won't use, that I was not going to be his healthcare provider.
you're like, yeah, me too.
And I was like, I think if you're going to talk to me that way, our visit is probably over. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
But anyway, so it was going to be really horrific, and I was going to walk away and lose a fair amount of money and lose the... So there's this big thing about, you know, you really want your last employer to say that they would hire you again, even if you never want to work for them again, because it looks bad to have your last employer say, we wouldn't hire that person again if they were the last professional on the planet. So I was going to walk away and lose all of those things.
Yeah.
I decided to file a complaint about my working situation, and I actually told the human resources person that I would take it to the EOCC if I needed to. And I got listened to, and I actually got a counter offer today that was very tolerable. I do not have to give 90 days. I'm giving them 30. They are not going to soak me for the money they were going to soak me for. In fact, I'm going to walk away with money in my pocket that I didn't expect. And I will not be designated as someone that they would not rehire. I will be designated as someone that they would, in fact, rehire. So it's a win-win. I mean,
I'm so proud of you.
Because I stuck up for myself.
You stuck up for yourself, and you didn't put up with the toxic environment anymore.
Yeah, it was really toxic.
Life is short.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to deal with that crap.
So, you know, way too much info from this housewife, but there you go, guys. Once again, life is working out to be pretty well. Stick up for yourself, take care of yourself, take a risk. You know, I'm going to do a big share here right now and tell people that I have started going to Al-Anon, which is a group for people who are children and spouses and family members of alcoholics. And the reason that I'm doing it is that I was raised by an alcoholic and I was married to an alcoholic. And I've only been to 2 meetings, but so far they've been spot on. And tonight's meeting talked about, you know, sometimes you have to remember that you are not suffering the consequences of your actions. You are opening yourself up to enjoying the consequences of your actions.
Amen.
And I was like, oh my God, that's perfect for the week that I just had. Because my week started out feeling like I was suffering the consequences of my actions, and it's actually turned out that I am opening myself up to enjoying the consequences of my actions.
So I was actually listening to an audiobook, and there was a really great story, and I'm going to completely slaughter it. And it's basically kind of like an old Chinese proverb or something where a man...
Buddha says, give the poison to the other guy.
No, not quite that. So like a man has a farm, and his only horse escapes. And all the townspeople are like, oh, that is very terrible for you. And he's like, maybe, maybe not. Well, the next day, the horse came back, and it brought with him a herd of horses. And so it wound up being a good thing. People thought it was going to be a bad thing. His only horse ran away, but maybe not. And the next day the horse comes back with more horses. And so his son went to go train some of these new horses, and he broke his arm. And the townspeople are like, oh, isn't that horrible? And he said, maybe not. Well, the day after that, the army came along to conscribe all of the young men in the town, all of the healthy young men in town. And of course, his son had a broken arm, so his son got to stay behind with his father. And so, again, the townspeople thought this horrible thing had happened to the man, but it turned out it was a good thing. And so it was basically like, don't be so quick to judge the things that happen to you in your life. They may seem bad now, but later on, it could be a good thing.
Exactly.
Yep. So I love that story because, I'm all about the toxic positivity. I'm like an unbearable optimist. Don't get me wrong. I'm snarky about it, but I'm an intolerable optimist.
I guess that kind of leads us into goods, bads, and uglies.
I think it does. I don't think this is going to be a 52-minute episode.
No, it's not. But I do at some point have to go to sleep because I have a big day tomorrow that's going to start really early.
And you only have 17 working days left.
I know, right? And then you know what? I'm actually going to take some time off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you.
And I'm sorry. So this is the Real Housewives hour. This is not actually Biters. Sorry.
Not sorry.
So the other thing is the job that I was interested in Anchorage got posted today.
It's fortuitous.
And it just so happens that two of the people who work in that clinic are former coworkers of mine who desperately want to work with me again.
Yep. See? You could have thought quitting your job was a bad thing. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, so life is crazy, people. Take the risk.
Yep.
Sign up on Tinder.
Do the thing. Whatever it is you have dreamed and thought about doing, do the thing. Just get vaccinated first.
Yeah, do me a favor. Don't hook up on Tinder unless you're vaccinated, because I have a horror story about someone who kept hooking up on Tinder and got COVID. Not me, no one I met, someone I knew. Not a good thing. I don't even let my
dogs go to the dog park unless they've had all their shots. Man. All right. Goods, bads, and uglies.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I am going first. And my good this episode, of course, was Athena. I kind of wish that maybe, because we've joked all along that they could, reboot with an entirely different cast, a different group, or we could flash forward in the future and they could do all kinds of things because there is no canon for Fear the Walking Dead. And so I kind of wish that we had flashed forward 16 years and all of a sudden we have Athena and old Morgan.
Which was weird.
Yeah.
Although Dwight didn't look that old.
He didn't, no. Dwight and Sherry didn't really look like they had aged much, but I love how Strand and Salazar had white hair also, and that they were BFFs. So, yeah, I really loved Athena. I kind of wish we had kept her. Don't get me wrong, I love you, Kate. I love Grace. But, I mean, if they're going to kill Grace anyway... Karen. I'm sorry, Karen. If they're gonna kill Grace anyway, then can we keep Athena? She was kind of cool.
She was pretty cool. I was actually thinking, especially as I was looking at the headshot of her at the Walking Dead wiki, she would actually be someone I would like to see in the world beyond.
Right?
Just saying.
Okay, so she needs her own episode in the anthology.
Yeah. I like that. Although I don't know if they would actually do that since she was technically never alive, as far as we know.
I'm going to get into that. We'll get into some wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff.
Oh my god, you Whovian, you.
You got the reference. I'm so proud of you.
I did. Even though I don't love Doctor Who, I get it.
Well, time isn't real anyway, so...
You know, so apparently it just depends on, like, your relation to something that's traveling at the speed of light. That would be one of those complicated physics things.
You're reading Stephen Hawking books!
I'm trying to sound smarter than I am.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, okay, let's keep moving. Good
so
lord.
What was your good?
Well, so Athena was actually my good too, but it's slightly different than yours, and I kept noticing it over and over, and I loved it. She uses a stick just like Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
She wields her stick exactly the way Morgan wields his. And that made me happy. She's like a little Morgan.
I was like... To be the kid of Morgan, like, if anybody could, you know, maybe she would take on Carl's role and she would be the survivor of the apocalypse. So that would have been very, very cool. I really wonder how much training Sahana did for the role, because it was effortless. She did it well.
Yeah, she was fun to watch.
Yeah. So I do want to add something that I forgot to add when we were talking about her earlier. Her, like, production company that she writes, directs, produces is Sahana Yo Mama.
Oh, I love it.
I love it too. All right.
Okay, it's your bad.
No Walkmans or batteries 26 years into the apocalypse. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So how many years into the apocalypse? Because she was what, 16?
16.
And they were already how far into the apocalypse?
10-ish.
Okay, so yeah, 26 years?
Yeah,
yeah.
No. Even rechargeable batteries are not rechargeable after 26 years. I'm sorry, we just don't have the technology. It's all a dream. No, I'm sorry. Like, no Walkman, no Roy Orbison.
Oh my god. Okay, so I'm going to say something totally inappropriate. I'm sorry, Rob. No vibrators?
Oh, man, you'll have to go analog. Acoustic style. How terrible for you. So what was your bad?
So my bad, and I kept thinking this over and over and over again, was, seriously, nobody recognizes Grace? Are you kidding me?
Oh my god, thank you. Yes. Like, how did Morgan, like, oh, yeah, I guess that is you, Grace. Like, really? Like, somebody from 16 years ago appears before you in the exact same, you know, state that you last saw them in, and, like, are you that senile? Like, no. People would recognize.
Yeah, no, it just bothered the heck out of me. I mean, everybody was like, who are you, strange lady?
Right?
Like, okay, really?
Like, even in the outfit I gave birth and died in.
Right.
Like,
right.
It was only a dream, though. All right. Speaking of which, my ugly. Was it just a dream?
Okay, so that is totally my ugly, too.
Yeah, so hear me out here. like Grace was convinced that she was having a boy all along, and suddenly this dream comes along and she is connected like physically to this girl she is seeing in her dream. So how did she know she was having a girl after all? And in her dream, she starts seeing Riley, Nick Stahl's character, and the 3 other henchmen that he was with, like, fully formed. She had never seen them before. She had never encountered them, never heard their voices. She could have been incorporating what they were saying in their voices into her fever dream because she was kind of going in and out of consciousness. But they were wearing the exact same thing in her dream. Like, they had, the weapons were the same. Everything was the same. How would she have known that? Like, maybe it was an alternate timeline that she somehow, found herself in, because that's kind of a thing. Infinite universes, and time is only linear because that's how.
Smalls doesn't believe in physics.
Yeah, and time may not be linear for dogs. We have no idea how they experience time. We experience time in a linear fashion. That's the only reason why we think that way, because time is relative. So, was it a dream? Who knows?
I'm like, was it a dream? Was it a future vision? I don't know.
Yeah. Alternate timeline. There could be multiple explanations for this, but I thought that it was completely unnecessary for forwarding the plot, and now we're in Rotting Potpourri. But I did like that once she became conscious that it was not reality, that it sort of started breaking down, and she started incorporating the things that were around her in the real world into her dream. So it took the rewatch for me to notice it, because I was like, oh, like Shadowfax just appears when we need a horse. Okay. And for those of you who don't get the reference, it's from Lord of the Rings.
I think most of the listeners probably do.
Maybe. The other half was like, Shadowfax? Who is that? I was like, really? Yeah. So, when she is listening to the Walkman and trying to get Morgan's attention through the Walkman like it's a walkie-talkie, don't get me started, stuff starts appearing behind her that's actually in the stables, and one of the things is a piece of artwork with a white horse on it. And so I kind of liked the way, while I wasn't totally sold on the whole dream aspect of the entire freaking episode, I kind of liked how she became aware of the dream and like the walls of it started to break down. I thought that was cool, and that's why I was like, maybe the pink should have started to fade away a little.
I actually think that's an excellent idea. I mean, I'm kind of sorry that they didn't do that, because again, the pink was distracting.
Yeah, I was honestly like, so I think it was War of the Worlds, where when the aliens were like spreading this like alien vine thing all over, and I believe it was pink. And so I was like, okay, is this like, I know that we're getting that weird one-off that like they're going to say that the zombie apocalypse was because of aliens. I'm like, okay, so are the red vines like some sort of invasive alien species now? Like, yeah, my mind went all over the place in this episode. And we haven't even gotten to the nuclear submarine key.
Okay, so since you brought it up, let's go there. Is there really a key for a nuclear sub?
Okay.
Is there really that kind of technology for a nuclear sub?
The working theory on the whole key for the nuclear submarine thing is that, you know how you need to turn two keys at the same time that are far enough away that one person can't do it?
Okay.
There is that whole theory. So there has to be two keys. And since someone really needs to have some sort of, I don't know, nuclear codes or whatever, or know how to operate like the nuclear launch on a submarine, the working theory is that somebody in our new cult, it has, worked on the submarine. And so that's probably why we're getting Dead in the Water, which is the backstory of how the submarine came to be sitting there, is that we're going to see somebody who's in the cult now being on the submarine. And that's why we know about the keys. That's why we are convinced that we are going to be able to launch a nuclear weapon. So, yeah, that's kind of the story with the keys. So... okay. Kind of like, preteens putting together a plane. Okay.
It's Texas.
Yeah. Appendix surgery in the back of a moving truck. Okay. He died, though.
I was going to say the patient
totally
did die. The patient died.
Yeah. Like, that's realistic. Patient died.
Okay, this was another thing that bothered me, and it kind of goes back to the really no one recognized Grace. So when Morgan finally was like, oh, you're Grace, I was like, okay, I understand he's a lot older than she is in this particular incarnation. Don't you think they would touch? They were lovers.
When he was unbelieving, that he's like, how do you know about Grace? She had reached out for him and he pulled back. But yeah, after that, when she saw her own grave and everything, I would think that you would want to comfort somebody who is seeing their own grave.
I would think even with the age difference, if that person was your lover, you would want to touch them.
Yeah. That
you would be like, oh my God, we're reunited. We're together.
Yeah.
By some miracle.
And if your dead, long lost lover appeared to you, you wouldn't walk 4 steps in front of them when you're going on a journey. I don't know. I mean, I know he wanted to let her spend time with Athena, but I don't know. I think I probably would have walked shoulder to shoulder with my daughter and my former lover.
What else? I thought, and I mean, this is just the incurable romantic in me that wanted Morgan and Grace to touch. I thought it was kind of cool that Dwight and Sherry were reunited and have 2 kids.
Now you know it's a dream.
Because
Sherry looks so happy.
Oh my God.
Oh.
And Al left to chase Isabel.
Mm-hmm. And I have to hope that Alicia and Wes that's why Wes went with Alicia and Luciana.
Oh, you think they're kind of, yeah, sort of, maybe?
Yeah, I would hope so. I think they're cute.
They are cute. I hope so for Alicia's sake. Good Lord, she needs some happiness.
Okay. Can we talk about someone who was probably in a one-off episode that, I actually had to look this up. Adult Charlie.
Yeah, so that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, how did they age up Charlie? That's amazing. Nope, different actress. Her name is Mary Catherine Duhan.
But they did a great job choosing her, and she looked like Charlie.
She does. Yeah. I had I not seen it in the cast list, I would have just thought that it was, movie magic.
Like de-aging JDM.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because I think they did a good job at aging up Morgan. I don't think his hair needed to be so white, but whatever. But they did a really amazing job aging up June. Like, hers was just perfect. Like, she aged well, which I think, she will anyway.
Because it's Jenna Elfman.
Of course. I was getting a little bit of Carol vibes with her hair, though. I'm just jealous because my hair would not do that awesome curly wavy thing. My hair, it would just be like a big oil slick.
Sweetie, mine doesn't either unless I do awesome curly wavy things with things that then burn my skin. So, yeah. Here we are.
Yep. And about 3 products.
Right.
Yeah.
Did I tell you I'm firing my hairdresser?
Yeah. I think we talked about that on one of the Housewives.
Not COVID safe, people. Not COVID safe.
Yeah.
And not even not COVID safe, not COVID smart.
So they totally off Biter's subject, but they put out new guidelines about masks now for people who are fully vaccinated. And I'm still like, okay, maybe if I have to go back to my office, I know everyone in my office is fully vaccinated. And we are, we have space standards in our contracts. So our cubicles and offices are so big that we can social distance. I'm okay not masking there, but I don't think I'll go to the grocery store or anything without one. I go outside without one. I walk my dogs, but it's not like I'm doing a group hike or anything.
So here's the thing that worries me, and we really are off topic, and I apologize to everybody, is that when we hear out of the mouths of government officials, you can stop using masks in X, Y, or Z circumstance, what people hear is you can stop using masks. Yes,
and if that changes in the future, if we have a spike of COVID or a different strain or something like that happens, and they say, oh, we need to go back to masking, people are going to be like, oh, well, you told us not to, so I don't believe anything you say.
Pretty much.
Science is mess around and find out, so. Yeah. All right, so we got a new name for the zombies.
The Husks. Yes, I had that written down too. That was actually the next thing in my writing potpourri.
I think that is an appropriate nomenclature for them because they are just husks. I would find it hard to believe that there would be any large numbers of them left 26 years into the apocalypse, but okay. I'm going to get a pin that says that now. It's going to be one of our sayings is, okay.
Or okay. Not a thing.
But okay. Yeah, I have holy fuchsia foliage back.
I wrote down, what is the symbolism of the pink trees? And then I looked it up and I was like, symbolism of pink, youth, good health, playfulness, innocence, cheerfulness. I'm like, that doesn't fit any of this.
Yeah, no, not at all. Speaking of things that don't really fit, so they gave a really good close-up of the key, and I can't remember what one of the words was, but it was do not duplicate, and then it was 3KRS. And if you Google 3KRS, yeah, it doesn't really come up with much that has to do with anything with nuclear submarine, so.
It probably is code for, it's okay to duplicate this key.
So, I actually, it could be some sort of use this blank if you duplicate the key. But I did go back and watch I just fast forwarded around till I found the episode and the time that they showed the end is the beginning, spray painting it on the submarine, and the big pull out of here's the submarine. I was looking for 3KRS on it for like some sort of like call sign or tail sign, like on a plane, and it wasn't there. So yeah, I had a lot of time to mess around.
That's because your lazy sister took so long to get ready to watch this episode, and I'm not lazy. My life is just chaos, and it's been like uncomfortable chaos for the last couple of weeks.
But, you know, good or bad, maybe. So we talked a little bit about when Grace realized that this wasn't reality, that the sort of the walls started to come down. The other thing that she started to incorporate, she wasn't just flashing on things from the past, they were starting to be incorporated into this fevered dream. So I noticed Grace's truck. Do you remember her truck?
Vaguely.
Yeah, so they had Grace's truck, and it had a zombie in it that was in one of the suits, the radiation suits, with a Geiger counter next to it. And then when they went into the stables, they had the walker under the caged bird.
Oh.
That's how she was trapping the walkers and
right.
to like test them. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I totally missed all of that because I was like, what's up with the pink tree?
So that's actually why I watched this episode 2.5 times. I started to watch for things in the background after reality started to break down, or unreality. And those are the only two really things that I noticed that I could pick out that were like kind of part of Grace's psyche. But it was really weird when they were riding the horse to the stables, which they were riding it really slow. What's the point of having a horse when you could have just walked that slowly?
Well, maybe they're not very good. I mean, I always rode pretty slow because I was not a very good horseback rider, as evidenced by my head injury. So
that was the scene where we see Grace's truck behind them, and you actually get a quick shot from the inside of the truck, which is when you see the zombie and the Geiger counter. But all of the cars that were on that road that were sort of, you know, haphazardly pulled off the side of the road, they were all like silverish cars, and they were all like totally different brands and makes and models and I mean, like, yeah, I don't know what the significance of that was, but I mean, I can't imagine that was done by accident. Maybe like Hyundai and Nissan and you know, Range Rover all like sponsored the episode, and that's why they got their cars there. But yeah.
Do you remember the green Hyundai from season 2 of Walking Dead?
Yes.
I still remember that car.
Yep. And the other thing that made me notice the cars, and of course it was all a dream, so it's not real, but they were all like, none of them were trashed. They were all perfectly clean. Yeah. So I was just like, interesting. That's really all that oh, you know.
That's really all that nope. Fake out. Spooky chef.
The fight scene in real life. So we had the fight scene in the dream that was kind of meshed with the fight scene in real life with Morgan. And I have to say that I am kind of disappointed in the choreographing of the fight scene in real life with just Morgan. So he was fighting 4 guys, and he did away with the 3 of them pretty handedly. But if you notice Nick Stahl's character Riley in the background during these fight scenes, he's just standing there with the knife like held up, over his head, and he's like kind of like stuttering, stabbing. Like, I was just like, that was kind of poorly done. Like, in real life, Morgan would have had 2 guys on him. It wouldn't have been one at a time in an orderly fashion, and Riley would have got a couple of stabs in before Morgan got to him, and then he just gets stabbed in the shoulder, and all the other guys, like, straight through the neck or whatever. So I was just like, that was kind of poorly done. They could have done better. The fight scene in the dream was great, but yeah.
Just, all in all, another episode. Did we really need it?
Yeah, I mean, for the 5 minutes that we advanced the storyline, yeah. I didn't hate it, but I wished it was more than it was.
I'm gonna have to say, yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it.
Happy Mother's Day, though!
From Paul Tassi and Eric Kane. Happy Mother's Day.
Right? Oh. Well, that's all I have, truly.
Okay, and I am probably not going to get this edited until Saturday, so once again, Biters will be late because Dianne sucks. So.
And someday, Marnell will learn to edit.
Yeah.
But until then,
I am going to have to release control, but until then,
just remember,
take it one dead day at a time.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.